Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our session, Love of Water Heating in the Time of COVID. So my name is George Chapman from Energy Solutions, and I am the moderator for this great session. I'm really fortunate to be joined by three great presenters, and I'll be doing introductions for them as we get to their individual presentations. But we're going to start with a little bit of housekeeping. So then we'll move to our speakers. As a reminder, your screen is customizable. You can utilize the various widgets found at the bottom to get it to fit your needs. The presentations can be downloaded from the resources list in the menu. Attendees are in listen-only mode, but you can submit the questions through our Q&A box. We're also going to have time during the Zoom later, so we can answer questions here, and then we can have a little more of a dialogue during the Zoom afterwards. So the presentations will also be available for on-demand viewing within a couple of days through the Engagement Hub. Zoom discussion rooms will be opening at the end of the webcast. So you can click on the Zoom widget or download the daily Zoom link available, and you'll see that on your screens. We've got the Shameless Commerce Happy Hour today at 3:30 p.m. on the Zoom platform. The link can be found on the Engagement Hub as well. That's always a lot of fun, so I encourage that. And we certainly want to thank our sponsors and partners for the support of the Hot Water Forum. I also want to take a moment to thank Lynn Pyle, who's on here, and she works behind the scenes tirelessly, trying to wrangle a virtual conference and the rest of the ACEEE team. I'm always very impressed and grateful for everything that they do to make this work. So without further ado, let's get started. So our first presenter is Charlie Taylor. Charlie is a colleague of mine at Energy Solutions, and I am greatly fortunate to get to work with him every day. In terms of Charlie's background, he is a senior project manager based out of our Boston office. Charlie manages multiple midstream C&I energy efficiency programs in the Northeast on behalf of our utility program administrator clients. He leverages his experience with building energy auditing and convening regional energy efficiency stakeholder groups to achieve large-scale environmental impacts. He's led cross-functional teams to engage the supply chain, launched 6 new midstream energy efficiency pilots, which have scaled to full programs over the last 4 years. He has a bachelor's degree in economics from UMass, and he's got a great presentation on what was a pretty fun and exciting program launch this year. So without any further ado, Charlie Taylor.
Great. Thanks very much, George. Can you hear me okay?
Sounding good.
Great. Well, yeah, thank you, George, and thank you, everybody, for joining today. Definitely looking forward to the conversation, hearing from the rest of our panelists, and yeah, sharing some of our experiences last year. As George was saying, I was fortunate to work with our clients, National Grid and Con Edison, on launching a brand new midstream energy efficiency program in the Metro New York area, specifically focused on commercial heating and water heating equipment. And just to give a quick background on Energy Solutions. So Energy Solutions is a energy efficiency and demand side management consulting firm. We really focus our effort on achieving large scale environmental impacts by providing cost-effective, market-based carbon, energy, and water management solutions for our clients. We're essentially broken up into 3 teams at Energy Solutions. So energy efficiency, distributed energy resources, and policy and ratings. And today I'll be really focused on sharing some of our energy efficiency best practices and lessons from this program launch. And I'm based out of our Boston, Massachusetts office. Today I'm in my home office in Cambridge, which is my bedroom. So thanks everybody for joining. So just a quick overview of the program. So Con Edison and National Grid partnered last year to engage the supply chain in Metro New York, specifically focus on achieving energy savings in the C&I water heating space. And the program launched on April 1st in 2020. So this was a couple of weeks after really the serious shutdown started from the pandemic. Not optimal timing for launching a brand new program, but I'll talk a little bit today about how we adapted and some of our strategies and lessons learned. We essentially had to launch the program remotely, so we weren't able to do in-person outreach to the equipment distributors due to the COVID-19 restrictions. So we had to adapt to many of our trainings and marketing materials aimed at distributors for phone calls, emails, and webinars. But Con Ed and National Grid decided to push forward with the launch amid the pandemic, really to assist customers and help them access the huge lifetime energy savings offered by high efficiency water heating equipment, and it really proved to be beneficial to their customers. So a little background on Midstream energy efficiency programs. So the Midstream program design leverages existing distributor to contractor networks. So really the participants in a Midstream program are equipment distributors. Rather than focusing on the end users of the equipment, we're really looking to influence the stocking and upselling practices of distributors to make high efficiency equipment more available to more customers, working through these influential market actors in the commercial water heating supply chain. And it really overcomes some of the big barriers to a traditional, sometimes called downstream energy efficiency program, where distributors don't necessarily have high efficiency equipment in stock for certain categories. Customers, contractors may not be aware of the downstream offerings, and downstream just can offer some barriers to participation. And so Midstream can really help overcome these. As you can see here, distributors are really influencing the vast majority of these sales in the market. And we've seen it can lead to, on average, 10 times the participation in terms of energy savings compared to a traditional downstream program. So this gives you a sense of the territory we're looking at. So Con Edison and National Grid have adjacent natural gas territories in downstate New York. So starting up in Westchester, through the 5 boroughs and out onto Long Island. And so this was really helpful for the supply chain in this area to create this kind of continuous geographic area. Oftentimes distributors aren't necessarily thinking of which utility territory they're selling into. So making it nice and easy and streamlined for them, I think was hugely beneficial, and also streamlining the equipment offerings and the incentive amounts. So you can see we launched with storage, volume, tank list, and indirect water heaters. Just gas equipment, and we take our qualifying products list from the HRI database and kick things off April 1st. So some of the key challenges we ran into were, let alone launching a new energy efficiency program in a pandemic, but typically Midstream is very in-person outreach focused. So you really have to have those supply chain touch points with the distributors and manufacturers reps, meeting with them in person to get them comfortable with the program, how it works, how it fits into their existing processes. And in-person outreach was really impossible in Q1, Q2 of last year. So huge challenge there. Distributors were also stretched very thin last year due to, some of them were furloughing staff. Their staff just had a lot more work due to increased sanitation demands. And we were seeing, in New York City, a lot of construction projects being delayed. And so we had to kind of think about how that would impact our forecast and participation. So one of the first things we did was our national trade ally management team reached out to manufacturers and distributors nationwide to collect their feedback and their forecasts for how the pandemic was going to influence their sales. so that we could then kind of go back and adjust our forecasts for midstream programs. And so we developed these, free publicly available resources on our website. I included the link here. So we've released these every 2 weeks since the start of the pandemic last year. So we have regularly updated supply chain assessments for the commercial industrial market on lighting, food service, HVAC, water heating, cold storage, and pumps markets. And so definitely check this resource out on our website. Got a lot of great market feedback. And then we had to utilize that feedback to change our strategy. So I think aligning the program with Con Ed and National Grid to really streamline things for participants was a key aspect of the strategy. So ensuring the process was the same for both utilities, incentives were the same, make things consistent for the participants was really important. Also, utilizing local manufacturers representatives. They have existing relationships with all of these distributors. They will often be able to, get you a meeting with the right decision makers and connect you with the people who can really get this program up and running with these distributors' businesses. And they can also help with trainings and promoting some of the high efficiency equipment. And we did, as I mentioned, adapt our outreach materials. So trainings for distributor sales reps on upselling, to high efficiency equipment. And we adapted that to, webinar and phone trainings for the distributors. And really tried to focus these trainings on, what's the value proposition right now for your business. So that's, increasing sales, upselling your customers, providing, value for your customers by being able to sell them a higher efficiency piece of equipment with an incentive, and being able to get them those lifetime energy savings through a really streamlined process, no paperwork for the distributor to participate. And then to really, once we got the distributors in the market engaged, we switched to, to really try to maximize participation through the program. So really providing proactive and supportive outreach to distributors, almost acting as like a backup for them if they need our assistance to, help them get claims submitted, help them find equipment that qualifies, whatever it is, really being on call to assist their sales teams participate in the program. Also paying distributors quickly, paying the incentives quickly. So distributors would submit applications to us, and we averaged 8 days from the application approval to the check payment date. So the distributors get paid really quickly after they submit their sales data to us. And that helps with their cash flow. We also find providing, regular feedback on distributor performance in the program. So, benchmarking them to previous months, comparing them to like an anonymized list of their competitors. Sometimes they like to see that information, get a sense for how they're doing in the program. So we started doing monthly participation reports for distributors in the program to get them, near real-time feedback. And then continue to work with manufacturer representatives to, if there are any distributors who had more potential, identify them and work with them on, overcoming any barriers they were running into. So taking a look at the results from this program, we were able to get the first application submitted within 24 hours of launching the online application system for the program, which was really a record time, I think, for this type of program. 32 distributor companies enrolled, 113 locations across the Metro New York area. we were able to achieve 113% of our annual savings goal for programs. And saw the success and engagement with the market, so expanded it to include space heating equipment for C&I customers as well. So I think really we're able to prove that despite launching in a pandemic, Midstream is a great way of engaging with the supply chain and driving increased program participation, and helping customers access really the lifetime energy savings over 20, 25 years that they're gonna have some of this equipment. And so just to summarize the lessons learned, in a case like this where time and resources are really tight, focus on the distributor's priorities. So what's the value proposition for them during an uncertain economy? Typically it's they see it as an upselling tool, a way to add value for their customers, but it's got to fit into their existing processes and be easy to participate. So finding that balance. And we found that virtual enrollment and trainings do work, but you really need to have good market connections, relationships with manufacturers across the country, just like large distributors, to be able to get those introductions, because it's a lot harder to cold call somebody and not be able to drop in person to get a distributor engaged in the program. And then really creating intuitive systems, making it easy for distributors to incorporate into their business. So they're just essentially focused on selling more high efficiency equipment, which is the goal of these programs, and getting more high efficiency equipment out into the market, and providing lots of support for distributors as they get kind of up to speed. And, really to summarize, just listening to the market is a huge lesson here. So one example, there may have been freezes on new construction projects, adding uncertainty into our forecasts, but working closely with those distributors, they can kind of pass along intel on those projects, so when or if they're going to be coming through the program for your savings planning. All right, I think we're going to be saving questions for the end. But thank you all very much for joining. I'd love to hear any questions if you want to follow up. This is my contact info. Yeah, I'll turn it back to you, George. Thanks a lot.
Hey, Charlie, thank you. That was fantastic. And I kind of lived this program with you. It was a fun ride, but turned out okay at the end. It was a fascinating launch, and was proud of the whole team. So thank you for sharing that with everybody. We're going to switch gears a little bit right now. So we've gone from sort of a program perspective, downstate New York, launching a program there, to an international manufacturing perspective. We were joined by Karen Myers. So Karen has been with the remanufacturing company for 30 years. I genuinely don't believe that. She's currently the Global Vice President, Government Affairs. She also serves as a federal lobbyist for REAM. Karen has served on numerous industry committees, including the Air Conditioning and Refrigeration Institute, the Alliance for Responsible Atmospheric Policy, U.S. Department of Energy, American ACEEE, National Association of Manufacturers, Public Affairs Council, HMA, HVACR, Manufacturers Association, the California Building Decarbonization Coalition. I think very many of the participants on the Hot Water Forum will know Karen from her tremendous career. We're very fortunate to be joined by her, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing the perspective from REAM on what was obviously a very challenging year, dealing with a genuinely international crisis. So Karen, thank you so much for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the introduction. And hello, everyone. It's nice to be with you virtually. And I'm happy to share some of the lessons learned and the experiences that we had with the COVID-19 efforts. It certainly impacted all aspects of our lives, and the water heating industry was no exception. The dedicated REAM team remained focused, very flexible, and committed to keeping our business operating throughout what has really been an unprecedented year on so many ways. But first of all, I just thought I would share our global brands that we sell. We are an international company. We sell in over 50 countries. And regardless of what type of brand is affixed to the products, they're unique, especially and targeted for their marketplace and relevant to customers' lifestyles and always authentic to our company values. And Ream was founded in 1925 by the brothers Donald and Richard Ream. We are approaching our century birthday, and we're very excited about that. We have over 10,000 employees worldwide, and we are the only North America company that is both air and water focused. So what Ream does is we move heat. We move heat in precise ways and innovative ways to precisely control temperatures in our air products, in our refrigeration products, and most certainly in our water products, which we're here to focus on through this hot water forum. So, really, let's get back to the subject at hand, which is COVID. And I have to say, I've been with the company, as George said, for over 30 years, and I remain just completely humbled by how the Ream team pulled together and the personal impact that it had on a lot of our team's members and families in the communities, the hardships and challenges facing so many from the Ream perspective and all of yours just cannot be understated. And certainly we extend our sympathy to those who were personally affected. And without a doubt, our Ream team came together in a remarkable way to support one another and to grow the business. Here's a couple of examples. Health and safety protocols. To continue serving our customers, we put together aggressive health and safety measures in place to mitigate risks for our employees, especially those who have the important job of keeping our manufacturing on track. We have daily employee mandatory temperature checks. So before you can enter the manufacturing facility, you must have your temperature checked every day. We implemented social distancing measures in our production facilities, applied aggressive daily hospital-grade sanitation and cleaning protocols. We afforded times between shift changes to mitigate people interactions, and followed the different and oftentimes different state protocols, and then all the federal health requirements to ensure that the guidelines exceeded those federal and state guidelines where possible. Remote work model. A lot of us are working from home. I'm speaking to you from my home today. We are not yet back working in our offices yet. And we continue to take very aggressive measures that go above and beyond the guidelines issued by the CDC and the World Health Organization. And we've also sent communications and really encouraged plumbers to utilize safety protocols to protect employees while they're in their homes, thus limiting the spread of the virus. And additionally, for our wholesale distributors, and we encourage them to establish protocols for taking orders and staging product for pickup and delivery that will minimize contact, thus also reducing the potential spread of the virus. We also assembled numerous employee family care packages throughout COVID to distribute to our frontline workers and to help protect our extended Ream families and help prevent the spread of the virus. And we never underestimated the power of gratitude to our frontline operations and factory teams. When the pandemic hit, Ream was quickly deemed an essential critical infrastructure worker by the President and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. I worked with many of my industry colleagues to make that happen, and within 2 weeks, water heating was deemed an essential business. So together with our plumbers and customers, we remained in lockstep to protect the health of our nation and provide the the goods and services vital to communities at this unprecedented time. The continued production of water heating equipment contributes to accessible hot water. And we all know that hot water is vital for cleaning, sanitizing, disinfecting homes, as well as commercial institutions such as hospitals, nursing homes, FEMA facilities, and continued access to hot water for food and medical sanitation, as well as everyday hygiene such as hand washing. So a lot happened. I'm very pleased that water heating was quickly recognized as one of those essential businesses. The supply, though, it didn't just stop with our factories, though. It was the supply chain. And so how do we make sure our suppliers stayed open as well? We utilize a global supply chain, so products coming from different countries and how those different countries were affected also affected us. And so we wanted to maintain regular operations so that we could get these essential products out to homes and workplaces across the nation. And COVID-19 did put pressure on those supply chains around the world, and certainly water heating was no exception. We continued to stay extremely focused on our safety protocols, procedures, and protection measures in our factories. That was our number one goal. And under challenging circumstances, I'm pleased to say that our operations team they met an unprecedented demand for water heaters. We fought and held supply continuity during extremely high production levels through a lot of team collaboration. It was not everyone pulled together and helped everyone out on their job to make sure we could keep those factories running. We certainly embraced new ways of doing businesses. We connected our engineering teams through video to embrace, to solve problems and develop new technology. We even conducted a virtual market sales blitz to drive our new hybrid water heater, the ProTerra, to market. We also used instant and virtual technology solutions so that our technical support teams could help customers troubleshoot technical challenges in a remote way. And we seamlessly shifted from in-person to online training. And we trained, this is an important fact that I found amazing. We've trained a record number of plumbers in 2020, nearly 20,000, with great content and enthusiastic engagement. And then COVID, created new obstacles for some of our communities. REAM is very involved in the communities in which we operate, and we continue to do our part to make things just a little bit more comfortable. And just wanted to highlight a few examples of some of these initiatives that were led by REAM employees. The teams partnered with the City of Atlanta and surrounding community schools, such as the Montgomery County Public Schools in Alabama, to share our water heating expertise. Work is underway to reduce COVID transmission through the increased availability of heated hand washing stations in schools and institutions. Our affiliate, EMAX, celebrated Global Hand Washing Day by bringing more opportunities for safe, comfortable hand washing to its local Waterbury, Connecticut school district. The team hosted an event at Sprague Elementary School to announce the REAM Heart of Comfort program donation of hand washing portable stations to 10 schools in the Waterbury Public School District. Using HVAC technologies, the team explored ways to reduce the spread of COVID in office settings. Our teams also partnered to help bring comfort to medical communities in which we operate. Together, the teams developed 3D printed ear guards to help give healthcare workers who wear masks all day some relief. And over 10,000 ear guards were donated to hospitals and healthcare workers. It was a small gesture, but it brought a lot of comfort to those who were giving so much. And then Operation Warp Speed, HTPG, which is the Heat Transfer Products Group, which is Rheem's commercial refrigeration division, developed a commercial refrigeration product to maintain specific temperatures for the vaccine storage. Our Scottsboro, Alabama facility was quickly refigured in September to increase output and accommodate the new production. This effort is part of the government public-private partnership in which HTBG is engaged. So I think if we've learned anything in 2020, it's that we have the absolute best team in the business. And together we figured a way to make sure those water heaters were continuing to get distributed to those in need. It tested us in many ways. And yet we all figured out how to rise above every single business challenge under highly volatile market conditions. We've hit milestones, we made improvements, we made changes across the organization that could not have been achieved without teamwork. And really, just as I noted at the beginning, I just continue to be inspired by the Rheem team's resiliency and the cross-team collaboration that it really took to navigate these unprecedented times. So a lot of good came out of COVID, despite, we saw the best of people in this challenging year, and especially to all of my fellow Rheem employees, just a huge thank you, and to all of you in the industry who do your part to make sure that these products are installed and provide the hot water that we so needed to make it through this year. So that wraps it up for me, George, and I'll turn it back to you. And once again, thank you for allowing me the chance to talk to you today.
Thank you, Karen. I need to click around there for a second. Thank you so much for that perspective. That was tremendous. I know it was an incredibly challenging year. It was really interesting for me to hear about sort of that international perspective and then the various divisions of Rheem being involved in different aspects of the response to pandemics. So that was really interesting and great perspective from our manufacturing friends, and specifically our friends from Rheem. So we're going to switch gears yet again to hear a slightly different perspective. This is also sort of an industry side perspective, but it's a little more local and regional. So we're very fortunate today. We've been joined by Mike Kelly from the Granite Group. So Mike Kelly is the SVP of Business Development at Granite Group. His skills as a strategic leader and entrepreneurial approach to driving change have helped the company through rapid and continuous growth. So he's been there for 10 years. And has helped the company double their sales by spearheading new and refocused business verticals, including HVAC, fuel products, and plumbing. Under Mike's leadership, the HVAC business has grown 10 times from 2010, and the fuel segment is up over 4 times in just 5 years. He finds his greatest satisfaction in coaching others to perform above and beyond expectations. He's most proud of his team and their accomplishments. And I think we all share that, particularly after this year, feeling very fortunate for our communities, our teams, our families, and our friends. Prior to joining the Granite Group, Mike held multiple leadership roles with Watsco Incorporated, largest HVAC wholesaler, and was Director of Business Development for Sears Roebuck Home Improvements HVAC division. We're very fortunate to be joined by Mike. He's going to provide a really great perspective, distributor perspective on challenges of responding to COVID as an essential service, as a smaller business, I guess you'd say, than from a Rheem perspective, but with a lot of reach and a lot of breadth and a lot of challenges to overcome. So without further ado, Mike, are you there? Able to? I don't see you yet, but I'm happy to pass off to you when you're able.
I'm here. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today, and thanks you for the organization for inviting us to participate. It was very interesting in putting this together to realize how much we've actually been through the past year. And so I'd like to take you through a little bit of a story of 2020, which is a tale in 3 parts. First, we'll talk about the company a little bit, give you some perspective about who we are. We're a family-owned business established in 1972. The company was purchased with 1 location. And today we have 45 locations. We cover 6 New England states. That's through opening local locations and acquisitions over the last several years. Most recent acquisition is 2019. We bought Weber Supply in Maine and kind of filled out Maine for us. Put that in perspective, what kind of growth path we've been on. I joined the company a little over 10 years ago, and we had 26 locations. We have 580 employees today with 50 openings. We're an aggressive sales organization, unapologetically. We've got 55 commissioned outside salespeople, and we participate in a lot of segments. Plumbing is our largest and is where the company started and has been the backbone of this organization. 36% of our total volume is plumbing, and within plumbing, hot water heating is our #1 segment in our plumbing group. About 21% of our business is HVAC, backed up by pipe, valves, and fittings. Hydronic heating in our hydronic business is not included in our HVAC. We separate those two. We're in the oil and propane supplies business, and then we're also tools, job site supplies, that type of business. So pretty well-rounded business, really focused on the trades in general. A little bit more about us, and this is pivotal to the organization and how we operate. We have a central distribution center in Londonderry, New Hampshire, state-of-the-art daily delivery, state-of-the-art inventory and logistics technology. We deliver to every branch every day. To give you perspective, if a branch gets a sold order into distribution center by 4 o'clock today, it's delivered overnight and on the dock for that facility to deliver or a customer to pick up the next day. Very expensive proposition, but when you're critical infrastructure and you need something the next day, they have access to $40 million worth of inventory overnight, and within 2 days, access to over $70 million worth of inventory to an individual branch the next day. We carry over 100,000 products in the facility. And then in 2020, was really a pandemic stress test on the organization. And just keep that in mind because we'll get back to that in a little bit. But our team really outperforms. Our central distribution is pivotal to the success of our organization and the ability to grow and get products where we need them. Part 1 of our 2020 travels really talks about where we started the year. We started the year with about a 5% budget of $300 million. We start off the year, January through February through March, up 10.7%. Just adding on to our growth that we've had over the past 10 years. And we're really having a very great year. Along comes April, and we start seeing the shutdowns, and you start seeing business down by over 20%, 20 and 25%. Some markets were down even 40 and 50% because of how tight the markets got and how much the state was shut down. So when you start looking at that, and from everything that we had, lack of information coming from Washington, not a lot of details, no real expectation about where this is going to go, we started looking at that, and we were preparing for a very long-term decline in business. And it looked like it was going to stay. And so we had rolling furloughs, and Charlie talked about the ability to reach out and get to our people and the short staff that we had. So we had rolling furloughs starting in mid-April. We did that for over the course of a 30-day period. Almost immediately, we were identified as essential workers in all 6 states. On the outset, you don't think of it. You think plumbers would be essential, but then you have to back that up and understand that if they can't get the products, they can't repair. We don't have hot water. We don't have heating. We can't get heat to people. And then you roll that backward to Karen's comment, which is if I can't get the products to deliver to the plumbers and the HVAC technicians and the workers out there. So really critical midpoint for us, essential workers. Very interesting, though, rules were different in every state. And when we cover 6 states, was very difficult to keep up with all of the rules and the regulations. There were states that we had to make sure our people had letters that talked about who we were, what they were doing, and why they were on the roads. So it was a little bit tough to organize in the beginning of this, not really understanding where it was going. And talking to our contractors, they all were telling us homeowners do not want us in their homes. Sales were canceled, projects were canceled. So we really were looking at a major slowdown. And then part of that is preparing for it, preparing for what comes next, and how do we handle this downturn, and what do we do? How do we keep our people safe? And how do we help keep the contractors safe? How do we work on best practices for everybody? On top of that, construction sites shut down. There were states where every construction site was shut down completely. So when we started seeing the slowdown, it was a major slowdown. People were staying home. They were staying in our homes. Our people, like I said, furloughs. But we have an unbelievable team that really stepped up to help figure out how do we continue to service our customers, and how do we keep our people safe, and how do we keep the contractors safe and healthy. And we left a lot of decisions up to our local branch managers, not decisions as to how to keep people safe. We actually started a weekly COVID response team in the organization. Our ownership and president CEO did weekly videos to release to the company on how we were doing, what was required, how people were performing, how people were staying safe, all of that, and really staying in touch with our people to keep them safe, keep them educated, and understand where this thing was going, what was going on. And I can tell you, to echo Karen's sentiment, I can't tell you how proud of our organization we are, how proud of what they accomplished and the work they did, the risk that they put themselves to keep everyone safe, the risks of their family for them having to go to work every day. And really, really an amazing group of people, and just really did a great job. 9 locations, and a lot of this was determined by our locations are different shapes and sizes, so some of them was very difficult to create a safe space for the customers to come in. So 9 locations, based upon what the branch managers wanted to do, was curbside pickup. 36 locations stayed open. We created areas, and some of the branches had fun with it. You can see in the picture on the bottom there, they created a slide to deliver products to the customer at the table in front of them. And they had a lot of fun with it, but also worked hard to keep people safe. Just the difficulty of working through 45 locations to get plexiglass set up in all of our locations for sneeze guards and face guards, was tough. Trying to get supplies early on, just getting supplies to keep people safe. And once we had enough to keep ourselves safe, was getting supplies to help our customers stay safe, and finding resources to do that. Masks were so scarce, we couldn't even get masks for all our people and for our customers. The reality through all of that is we did pretty well, and we kept people safe. And in the early months, in the first 90 days of this, we only had 1 person in our branches get affected. Later on, as this thing progressed, we had more infections as we moved into the fall. The summer went through very well, very strong, very safe. In the fall, though, things picked up, and we actually get to a place where we had to shut down branches for a day or two while they were cleaned, and we have everyone tested. And I can tell you, through all those safety practices, we've only had a situation where more than 1 person got ill from a branch from another person. And some of those, there were a couple others, but they were brothers that rode to work together and that type of thing. So all of this effort, though, I can tell you, was very much appreciated by our customer base, and they vocalized it, and they appreciated the fact that we stayed open. And not only did we stay open, they could actually come in, although it was separated from us, they could come in and talk to our people and have a human interaction and get what they needed and get their supplies and get back out to the job. And so early on was pretty bleak in those first couple of months. The second part of our tale really begins with the transition and what started happening late May as people began to relax a little bit, understand where this pandemic was and what it was doing. As states got their regulations under control, what you started to see was things start changing. We started to see limited job site openings. We started to see them allow 1 trade at a time. Vermont was really one of the toughest states, and they would open up a job site, and at first it was maximum of 2 people. Then they opened it up to 5 people on site. People working from home for over 2 months. And what you started to see is people realizing that they need home office space. They needed to be changes at home. Things needed to happen. People had no vacations, so there was extra money. People start to relax a little bit and invited contractors back into their homes and said, yeah, wear a mask, but come see me. I have to get things done. LendingTree, the interesting thing with LendingTree, it said that personal loans increased 7.8% over 2019 for the first week of June in 2020. House said that homeowners are planning to complete their home improvements right straight through the pandemic. And in fact, home improvements actually continued to increase. And so what we started to see the business really start to emerge and come back. The safety protocols stayed in place, and those safety protocols are still there today. And our people are still working hard every day to make sure customers are taken care of. But we really started to see the overall business change. And with that, June sales, we saw a 17.6% increase in sales in June alone. So now comes the stress test. We told you we have an organization where 85% of our products flows through central distribution. We took our inventory down $7 million. Now we had a situation where sales are picking up and we start to see what's happening, and we start to see shortages. So when you see the inventory go down, manufacturers took their inventory down. Manufacturers had facilities that closed down. So product was a little bit scarce and hard to get. And the other thing you started to say, and Karen mentioned it, that, we're a global community here, global manufacturing. And we started to see things like a manufacturer who was closed for a week is now open, and they're in great shape and they're producing. The next thing that happens is they can't get circuit boards. And it's not the circuit board manufacturer, it's the diode manufacturer that's in China that can't get the diodes to the board manufacturer, so they can't build equipment. Once they build that equipment, we start to see the real infrastructure challenges we have in America, which is lack of truckers. Lack of truckers. We had manufacturers that were telling us, we can't get it to you because we can't get a trucking firm to pick up the product. We can't get the product in from China because there's a global shortage of containers to move products internationally. And so with the Trucking Association, they actually forecast, here's an interesting statistic. The average long-haul trucker's age is 52 years old, which is 10 years older than the average worker in America today. They estimate if we don't do something to get more truckers into that business over the next 2 years, that shortage could grow to as much as 200,000. And so we've seen a major shortfall in drivers and truckers in America, and that is the infrastructure of moving product across America today. And it's a major problem in the future. Looking at truckers as well, so we had truckers that would schedule deliveries, and deliveries were scheduled, but the truckers got sick, and they would get sick with COVID, so there was delays. So getting product to flow, and we still see it today, although it's getting better. Throughout the year, we had a major problem getting caught up on product and how product flowed through the infrastructure. So when we get to central distribution, we're trying to recover. So we're trying to recover from a shortfall of inventory of $7 million, plus the increased demand that we're seeing. And it was, how many more trucks can we get? How many docks do we have? How many people do we have? Can we get the trucks through the door? Can we get the product unloaded and back out into our branches? And demand remained high for the entire year. Vendors continued to see shortages in international product supply. And then we started looking at how much our outbound semis going out to our locations were full, overloaded. But overall, through that, product's been flowing. We've been able to get product out into the marketplace. We've successfully kept our people healthy. They showed up every day to be on the counters to help deliver products to our customers and to the homeowners in America, so in New England. So when you look at that from June through December, we finished the year up 11.83%, one of the best years we've ever had. We continue to see absolute strong growth this year, although shortages continue. I don't know what the sales could have been had we been able to get everything that we needed through that time frame. But overall, our business has been very strong. To just give it a scope for residential water heaters, from January through March, our water heater business was up 20.69%. We don't have a lot of natural gas in all of New England. We have spots of natural gas. So we have a lot of rebates and incentive programs around hybrid heat pumps, and they were running up 94% January through March. April through May, we saw a decline in water heaters of minus 1.86%. If you factored out some of the multifamily and the new construction, that product was up. Hybrids were up 12%. So for a whole year, when you factor out multifamily that is still not rebounded, which dominates the tankless technology industry, down 76%. We were up 13.2% June through December. And commercial was also down 70%, obviously, with restaurants all shut down. So the learning from that is that through a pandemic, you don't stop water heaters from failing. They fail. It does, however, slow down the customers taking time to voluntarily upgrade or shopping for solutions. So pretty much there was a high percentage of just get me a water heater, get it in now, and let me keep moving on. But overall, the learning is that through this pandemic, people really understood the needs of their home, what was going to happen, that they're living at home. They made changes. They moved into upgrading their facilities. We learned that all of our manufacturers really rely on products flowing through the international channels. We've seen that there's a stress on our economy with drivers, the ability to deliver product to our warehouses. And we learned a lot about video and how to communicate with our people in different ways, and we couldn't do it face to face. And so, again, thanks to our people, we appreciate it. We've had a very good year. Everyone has been relatively safe through this pandemic, and we hope that through vaccinations, we'll all be even safer sooner. So thank you all. Thanks for having me here today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Mike, that was tremendous. Thank you so much for walking us through that. The perspective of, a smaller business, regional business, family-owned, the day-to-day challenges that so many businesses have faced, plus really understanding how it's an international market and building off of some of the presentation that Karen provided. Really tremendous, and I want to thank you for sharing that perspective. Sure. I do want to, for folks, we've got these ACEEE upcoming conferences that are displayed here. We've got a little bit of time for some questions, Q&A. We'll continue the conversation over at the Zoom in a couple of minutes, but for right now, while our attendees are thinking about some questions they might want to have for our panelists, I'm hoping that Karen and Charlie, can you unmute yourselves and get back on camera? I'd love to get your perspectives on a couple of questions. Thank you. So when you're not speaking, maybe just mute, and then when it's your turn, we'll do that. And I'm going to do the question in the same order that we presented. So Charlie, Karen, and then Mike. And my first question for y'all is, we've changed a lot of things this year. And I'm speaking for myself, there's some things that I hope continue, that we learned this year that I hope is sort of my new normal. And so I'd love to hear what might be some of your new normals from your perspective in this industry. Something that happened because of COVID that actually turned out to be a good lesson learned and something that we're going to apply going forward. So Charlie, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, great question. I think the biggest change for us, implementing midstream energy efficiency programs is, shifting to kind of remote outreach and marketing and engagement for the distributors in our programs. So we've since kind of transitioned to more in-person outreach, which, there's still nothing quite like sitting across the table from somebody and, talking about a program and how it works. But I think there definitely were some lessons learned there, and, remote engagement and remote, ways of, getting the program out to distributors and customers that we'll continue utilizing in our programs and expanding on. Because, I think we were surprisingly effective in some of those strategies. So I think that would be the biggest one.
Great. Karen, your perspective.
Yeah, so very similar response. I do think, though, that I've realized that there is a reason that we work together in person. It makes it, we collaborate together, we come together, and I think everyone really pulled together a lot during this last year. And so I don't know that it ever goes back to the way it was. I think there's got to be this hybrid, there will be a hybrid approach. Me personally, I was traveling almost every week. I don't see that ever going back to that again. But I do look forward to seeing my colleagues in person and having a little bit more of that personal interaction. But the traditional be in the office 9 to 5, I don't think it'll ever go back to the way it was. And I also think we've learned how to be more effective doing a lot of this stuff virtually. So as I mentioned in my presentation, whether you're helping solve technical challenges via an iPad with a plumber in a home versus just calling in on a 1-800 number, we found a lot of that to be much more effective. And we found that doing a lot of this remote training of plumbers can be very, very effective and can be very engaging. And we continue to learn upon that. So I think a lot of what we have learned, we will continue to build on, and we'll really move forward with a hybrid approach.
Thank you, Karen. And I will say I share that. I miss seeing my colleagues. I really like the virtual ACEEE Hot Water Forum, but I love the in-person one. And I am looking forward to getting back to that. I don't miss a lot of my work travel, but I do miss seeing a lot of my friends and collaborating, and sometimes collaborating over a drink and seeing all their smiling faces. So I will look forward to that as well, as I'm sure everyone will. Mike, I'd love to hear your perspective, something that became kind of a new normal that you want to see go forward.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's similar for us. Obviously, when you can't travel and you can't be face-to-face, you have to find a way to communicate thoughts and ideas and changes and programs. And I think overall, not just learning how to utilize video. I mean, we're a wholesale distributor, but we cover 6 states. And we have a lot of meetings where we pull everybody together in our central our corporate offices in Concord, New Hampshire. People are traveling from 6 states. I think moving forward, very few of those will be face-to-face. We may do them quarterly or twice a year like that, but we'll do via video. I think the thing that we really learned is we need to be better communicators. I think we've learned how to be a good communication organization, but I think that the thing that will change for us is to utilize these new tools to do a better job of communicating with our customers, helping them stay up on industry trends and changes and programs, and how do we leverage this for the use of our customers, because we do cover 6 states and we've got 45 locations, and how do we engage our 15,000 customers? And I think we'll be able to take that learning and do a better job of just communicating with them and keeping them up to date on important changes and factors and those things. So I think that's important. I think it's also important that we've learned how critical what we do is to America, and to appreciate the businesses that we're in, the things that we do, and to understand how critical we are in the lives of people in America, from plumbers to manufacturers to wholesale distributors, how we help keep them safe, and things like hot water are critically important. So thank you.
Mike, I don't think anyone could have said it better, Mike. That's I think that's a tremendous point. I think that resonates with everybody in the room virtually here. For myself, just reflecting on this conference specifically, one of the things that we've struggled with historically is having people like yourself from the distributors participate. It's a lot to ask someone like you to fly out to Atlanta for a session that may not have, for a conference that may not have relevance for everything that the Granite Group is doing. And so having this kind of remote capability, and maybe in the future a hybrid approach, to have more engagement from folks like yourself, I think would be great for the conference. I thought it was great for today. And so maybe that's another lesson that we learn. And I find it really interesting that the lessons that you all shared, I think are going to resonate with everybody who's participating, because whatever your company does, We've all learned those the hard way, whether it's our kids' school or our own companies or our own lives. So I want to thank everyone for participating. You're going to see the Zoom link. Please click on that. We're going to transition over to Zoom and have a little bit more of a lively discussion, continuing with our great presenters. So thank you, everybody, so much. And we'll pop over to Zoom and see you in just a minute.
Thank you.